Chapter 5. Zoe froze in the doorway, her clenched fist to her mouth, her teeth dug into her knuckles. Anne Sutcliffe sprawled over to the side of the chaotic hospital bed. Her shoulders heaved. The sounds were unmistakable. "Dad!" Zoe turned and clutched her father's arm. "She's throwing up." The disrupted IV regulator beeped furiously. Mom's friend Carol, who had come with them, squeezed Zoe's shoulder. "Don't worry, hon. I'll get a nurse." Zoe's father pushed by her and raced the few strides that took him to his wife's side. "It's all right, baby. It's all right." He smoothed back the hair from her face rhythmically. "I'm sorry," she moaned between retches. When her father reached impatiently for a button at the B-side, Zoe saw that a few strands of dark hair still clung to his fingers. He shook them into the trash can, which was half full with needle covers and stained gauze. The smell of the room was overpowering. She backed out of the door, the bile racing in her throat. Her heart pounded. She wanted to run to her mother, but she couldn't bear to stay and see her that way. Mothers are supposed to be strong, she thought. She's supposed to take care of me. A nurse bustled by her. Zoe knew the treatment made her mother sick, but he'd never seen her this bad, so weak she couldn't even make it to the bathroom. Zoe felt awful, embarrassed, like she was spying on something private. Carol tried to put an arm around her, but Zoe shook her off. "I should go to Mom," Zoe told herself. "She needs me." But she couldn't go back into the room and face that sick woman. She leaned against the wall of the corridor in a cold sweat, shaking. Carol hovered close by, looking hurt and anxious. "This is stupid," Zoe thought. "You wanted to help to prove you belonged. Here's your chance." Her mind argued logically, but her body refused to move. Finally, she began to edge towards the door. "I could hold her hand at least," she thought, "and comfort her. I owe it to her." But before she got there, her father came back out. He put his arm around her. "She's a bit better now," he said. "She might be able to sleep." He sounded drained. She hugged back, relieved that the decision had been taken away from her, hungry for comfort, but he pulled away too fast. "Come on," he said. "I'll drive you back home." "I'll stay, Harry," Carol said. "I want to stay." She smiled tentatively at Zoe. "Zoe, hon, call me, okay? If you need something, you know you can." Zoe nodded vaguely. Carol meant to be kind, then followed her father, eager to get away and ashamed of it. On the silent trip in the car, she began to feel guilty. It could have helped her, she thought. He didn't give me a chance to get myself together. "Are you going back?" she asked. He nodded. "I thought so." It was like he wanted to keep her all to himself. Carol got to stay. She slouched in the seat beside him and dug her hands deep into her pockets. "I'm sulking," she thought. "Then I don't care." But she was being silly, and she knew it. He'd always been a wonderful dad, and he loved her too. But we never do anything together now, she thought. Not even be unhappy together. He makes decisions without asking me, like I'm a little child. Her hand found a small object in her pocket. She had discovered it on the back steps this morning when she took the garbage out. Lying there, spiky and shiny. Zoe the bird, the magpie, he had picked it up, attracted by its sparkle. But she was late for school and shoved it into her coat pocket while she ran to gather her books, then forgotten it. She pulled it out to look at it again, rolling it between her fingers. Little points jabbed at her. It looked like a star, a sort of stud. Funny how things get around, she thought. "Go on, ask me what it is," she dared her dad silently, but he didn't notice, so she shoved it back into her pocket. "Drop me at Lorraine's, please," she asked, as they pulled into the neighborhood. She tossed her notebook into the back seat before she got out of the car. She hadn't even had a chance to read anything to her mother today, and her mother was her true critic. "I'll get it later," she said. "Bye," he smiled vaguely, and pulled away, his mind already back at the hospital. Lorraine looked pleased to see Zoe. "Hi, Zoe, just in time. I was thinking of going out." Lorraine will understand, she thought, and that triggered the tears, because she wasn't sure. She collapsed on the couch and Lorraine crouched in front of her, one hand lightly on Zoe's knee, waiting for her to stop crying. Zoe pulled herself together. "I'm sorry," she said. "I couldn't help it." She told Lorraine what had happened at the hospital briefly, simply. She didn't mention the embarrassment or the shame of not being able to respond. Lorraine squeezed her knee. "You'll go again. It'll be better next time." "Yeah." Zoe wiped her eyes with an offered tissue. "I'm such a wimp," she said. "I've always seemed to be crying." Lorraine smiled and punched Zoe's shoulder gently. "Listen, Dan sent me some guilt money. He said to buy some clothes to impress my new friends with when I get out there." She made a face. "Want to go shopping?" "I'm not sure." "Oh, come on. You deserve an outing." Zoe swept the hair from her face with short, tense movements as she thought about it. Well, I've got to get out anyway, before Diane comes back, Lorraine continued. She's pissed, but she didn't get any money. She was clomping around like a mad woman all morning. Please, please, please. All right, Zoe said, and stopped frowning. She felt a little uneasy, though. It didn't seem right to go shopping as if everything were normal. Lorraine got her jacket and they left. Pity you didn't know we were going shopping. You could have asked your dad for money, too. No money for clothes right now, Zoe said, trying to sound matter-of-fact. Too many bills. God, at least a decent pair of pants, Lorraine said. Hey, slow down. Zoe lessened her pace and took a deep breath. Come on, she told herself. Lighten up. There's nothing wrong with plain old Levi, she said, poking Lorraine, inviting play. Lorraine grinned, invitation accepted, but when Zoe turned the corner to go to the center, Lorraine held back. Not there, Lorraine called after her. Let's be hedonistic and go to the mall. She led the way to the bus stop. I've got to be back by 7, though. I've got a date with Neil. Oh, gross, Zoe said, teasing her. Lorraine squealed in an outrage right on cue. They squabbled playfully until the bus came. They arrived at the mall, their plan of action already mapped out. New jeans, a few shirts, and a pair of shoes. Lorraine had finally decided. She marched Zoe right away to the jean jar, the muggles, through finders and onto the edge. On the way, they picked up a couple of oversized bright sweatshirts and an expensive cotton shirt emblazoned with one of the new fall designs. It took a lot of trying on, but Lorraine managed to find a pair of pants she liked as well. Too good for mere mortals, she gloated, looking at herself in the dressing room mirror. At first it seemed remote to Zoe, as if she were an observer from another planet, but Lorraine's enthusiasm was hard to resist. Despite the occasional hesitation, Zoe found she was getting into the spirit of things. Let's go to the punk store down the other end, she said, knowing that would entice her friend. I don't know, darling, Lorraine gushed. I already have leopard skin pants, shoes, shirts, underwear, and sanitary napkins. They went anyhow and laughed with pleasure at the t-shirt designs and dared each other to buy colored hairspray. It washes out, Lorraine whispered. Come on. You look great with a purple streak. No one wears that anymore, Zoe said. I'd rather have a t-shirt that says, Eat the Rich. She tried not to laugh too hard and offend the clerks, who all seemed to take their black, spiky selves very seriously. Here, I'll buy you a going-away present, Lorraine said. Zoe's stomach turned over. I'd rather you didn't. Don't be silly, Lorraine said. You have a choice between the t-shirt or this necklace here. She pointed to an exquisite little silver crucifix on a deep red ribbon. How can you talk about it so casually, Zoe thought. You said you didn't want to go, now you're buying me goodbye presents? How can you change so fast? It seems so out of place here, she said aloud. Not if you look at the people working here. They're dripping with them. It all depends on the way you wear it. I like the ribbon, but it seems like a weird combination somehow. My grandmother would have a fit. Considering she lives in Europe, I doubt if she'll see it much. Lorraine went to the cash register and bought the necklace, plus some green hair dye for herself. What the hell, she said. I can always threaten to show up at the business lunch wearing it, if Dad needs keeping in line. Outside, she jabbed a camouflage pattern box at Zoe. Here, for once, she seemed awkward. Zoe slipped it into her jacket pocket, blushing. Lorraine didn't have to get her a present to be remembered. I won't wear it, she thought. I don't like it. Shoes, Lorraine screamed like a war cry, causing several passersby to turn and stare. What a subtle way of avoiding sentiment, Zoe thought with a wry amusement. Lorraine launched into a monologue as they headed for the nearest shoe store. I love shoe shopping, especially if it's a salesman. They grovel at your feet and run and fetch and put them on for you. God, it gives me a feeling of power. After the final purchase, they had pizza at the Roma. They recognized some kids from school there. Peter Ziegler, Lorraine moaned. I hope I don't get something stuck between my teeth. Zoe chuckled. I don't think it matters, since he probably won't come over here anyway. Killjoy, hey. He's with that Keith what's-his-name you went out with last spring. What was wrong with him? I can't remember. Zoe sighed. Nothing was wrong with him. I don't know. I guess I just wasn't attracted to him.